Hey guys, it's Mark Ramsey from Mark Gary Consulting. And I just want to make a quick video, and we'll see how quick this is, kind of giving some knowledge to those of you who are either looking to become a consultant or who are already consulting. This information can actually be used in a few different scenarios. For today at least, I'm going to focus on just the consulting landscape. I basically broke these down into 10 easy steps, and these are just good guidelines to follow that will kind of help you in the process, and really it should help your client as well as you form a good bond or good relationship. So let's go ahead and start off. The very first one, and this probably sounds real simple, but one thing I have learned is simple's usually right. You know, it's not the real complex, crazy, out there idea that's the right one. It's just being simple. So the first one is always negotiate with, never against someone. So what does that mean? Well, think of it like this. Let's say you go in to sit down with your client and you're going to talk to them about possibly becoming a consultant for them, what you can offer them, what their goals are, what your goals are, just the whole initial meeting. Well, do you want to sit down and negotiate with them? Meaning, at the end of this exercise, I will be happy with the outcome and you will be happy with the outcome. Now that is the basis of a good relationship, a long-lasting relationship. What you don't want is to go in there and think of this as an adversarial kind of situation. If you do that, you might walk out the winner, but in the end, nobody wins. The client, if you even get the client, is going to feel like you strong-armed them into the situation, and you're probably actually just going to talk yourself out of a client, because nobody really wants to feel like, hey, this person that's here to help me, well, they're actually just kind of trying to sucker me into whatever they're saying, whatever their sales pitch is. Now, we're going to touch on that farther down in the 10, but that really is the big one. When you go to sit down, think of it as negotiation with, not against someone. So number 2 really feeds off of number 1, and you're going to find that throughout this list. Next steps seem to build off the previous steps because that's really the way it goes. You can think of this as a foundation building up, and that's kind of how these are laid out. So number 2, a good negotiation is always a collaboration, and a collaboration always leads to a better outcome for all parties. I know in step 1, the rule was negotiate with, not against. Now, we're not changing that in step 2, but what we're doing is changing your mindset. A negotiation, a lot of times, can feel, even if it's you negotiating with someone, almost like an adversarial kind of back and forth. But what is better is a collaboration, a real collaboration. Now, what does that mean? What does that look like for you? Well, what that should look like is when you guys sit down and you start talking over, the plans or what they need or what you need, anything like that, you're not coming at it with the thought of, ooh, I got this bullet in my back pocket and, I can pull it out at any time and, oh, I gotcha. That's the wrong way to think. That's not appropriate. What is appropriate is thinking, hey, I have an idea. And you know what you just said? That's a good idea. So how do we make those mesh? Or you know what? That was a good idea that you had right there. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Let's see, what we can work out with that, or let's see if we can fit that in and what's the appropriate way to fit that in. That is real collaboration. And that is what you are looking for. Because at the end of that meeting, they're going to feel like, and you're going to feel like, you gained something and they gained something. Meaning both parties left it feeling like, hey, this went well. Not only did it go well, but I've got a relationship and I've got somebody I want to talk to again. I'm interested to talk to. I thought what they said was awesome. They clearly liked what I said. We worked together on it. Can't wait to do it again. And that's really the mindset you want to leave any meeting with, especially with a client, customer, or somebody that you're going to consult. So let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is make sure your core values align. If they do not, then do not collaborate. I cannot stress this enough. And this is a good mental exercise or way of thinking about this abstractly. Let's take me. So my core values, one of my core values is always tell the truth. I don't care, good news, bad news, whatever, you tell the truth. And actually we're gonna get down to that one on the list, but that's really important to me. Don't lie, don't sugarcoat it, just be honest and upfront. That is a core value to me. Now let's say I sit down with a potential client, and as we're talking, and even if it seems to be going well, they tell me, hey Mark, you know what? I'm really looking to do this thing. Yeah, it's a little shady, it's a little under the table, but you know what? It's gonna get me farther ahead of my competition in this bid process or whatever it is that they're talking about. Does that align with my core principles? Well, the answer is obviously no. And since that answer is no, I'm not the right fit. Now, I'm not going to judge them, let's say, on whatever their core principles or their core values are. You know what? They can do whatever they want. That's their values. You know, I'm not going to sit here and browbeat them or say, you know, well, you can't do that and you're not going to do that. It's just not a right fit. You know, in a situation like that, the best thing to do is just say, hey, you know what? I hear you. I hear that that's what you want and what you're looking for. I'm not your guy. And that's exactly what I would say. You know, I'm not your guy. Appreciate your time. You know, take care. I hope you find somebody who is. Although to be completely honest, if they're looking to steal and lie and do that kind of stuff, I'm not really sure I do hope they get that person. But again, I digress. It's not about my core values. So keep that in mind, especially non-verbally. And this gets a little tricky, but just keep this in mind. If you start talking about your core values and you notice just non-verbal communication, they seem to be pulling back a little bit, and you all know what I mean. You know, they're pulling back a little bit. They're not making eye contact. You know, you can tell that something's just not right here. It's good to not probe exactly in an offensive way, but maybe, you know, hey, so how do you feel about that? You know, ask them questions that will lead them to kind of help you understand exactly where they're coming from with that. You know, people may not feel comfortable saying, oh yeah, listen, I plan to rob this company blind, but they may say something that leads you to understand that, you know, hey, these aren't the most up and up people, or maybe they just don't agree with your core values. And it doesn't have to be stealing or anything like that. It may be that you have a principle or a value that is very important to you. It's how you do business. And maybe theirs is just as relevant or, you know, just as appropriate in their eyes, but it just doesn't mesh with yours. That's a really important thing to figure out at the very beginning, because you don't want to end up 6 months down the line, you're saying, hey, we need to do this. And they're saying, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go rob Jimmy blind or something. You know, whatever it is, you just don't want to be in that situation. And you need to be willing, if they don't match, to just walk away. All right, so on to the next one. So number 4, don't negotiate with people who see it as a zero-sum game. Now that may sound like, hey, Mark, what are you talking about here? What I mean by that is everything we've said up until this point about being in collaboration, negotiate with someone, not against someone, all these are very important. But it's looking at through your eyes. the other set of eyes in that room, if they are trying to negotiate, as in, I am going to win, you are going to lose. I'm going to browbeat you on this or that. I'm going to make you drop this rate, or I'm going to make you extend this period. Walk away. Walk away. It's not a situation you want to be in. Even if you think, hey, I can get them to understand this in the future once they sign the contract. No. People don't change, especially like that. You just don't want to get in that situation. If they're treating it as a zero-sum game, if they're not treating it as a partnership, if they're not treating it in a collaborative nature, no. All right, so on to the next one. Number 5, don't be a used car salesman. And I'm sure you're sitting here going, I don't sell cars. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. I know you don't sell cars, but here's the point. Good collaboration perceives a close future partnership that is mutually beneficial, not a quick sale. Now, let's look at this in context. So you walk into the room and your mindset is, I'm gonna make this sale. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I'm gonna make this sale. You are 100% wrong. And not only are you wrong, but you are setting yourself up for long-term failure, pain, misery, all sorts of stuff. Things you don't want, okay? A used car salesman, and I use that term because many decades ago, I actually went to work for a car dealership for like a week. I was horrible at it. I didn't sell any cars. It wasn't my thing. And I'll never forget that I met a guy there that they called the Hammer. And his whole deal was that some salespeople would get somebody 90% the way there to buying some car they probably didn't need. And they'd bring in the Hammer. And the Hammer, he'd walk in, he'd just, boom, he'd hit him and get him to sign that paperwork. And gotcha, I got that sale. You don't want that. You really don't want that. That may work on a one-off sale where you're never gonna see these people again, or you don't care about repeat business, but it is absolutely not going to work in an actual business environment, especially consulting. What is your job as a consultant? It may be subject matter expert, but in reality, what it is helping the company succeed, building them up and taking them into the future, leaving them better than how you found them. Does that sound like a great beginning to that relationship? You basically being the big tough hammer and knocking it into them that they're gonna sign with you? No, of course not. That's a horrible idea. You're going to leave those people, even if you get the sale. It's not a sale, but sale. Even if you get it, those people are going to walk out of there with a horrible taste in their mouth. They're going to feel like they just got beat up. Hey, this guy isn't my partner. This guy doesn't actually care about me or my company. He just is trying to get money from me. And that should be the last thing on your mind, is how much money can I get from these people? If that's your mindset, go be a used car salesman. Consulting is not where it's at for you. Consulting is about relationships and helping people and helping companies thrive and succeed and grow and expand. It's about the positive things that can be done with a collaborative effort. It is not about a sale. So just keep that in mind. Don't be a used car salesman. All right, on to the next one. Number 6, and this is a big one. Never mislead. Always be honest, no matter what. And I mean that. And I mean that not just because I believe that wholeheartedly, but because for you to be successful, sometimes you have to say the hard truth. People are not going to partner with you just to have you tell them, yes, it's a great idea. Oh, that's wonderful. Whatever. They don't need someone blocking the bad news for them. What they need is somebody to be honest with them. So here's an example. You come up with what you think is a good path forward, okay? You say, hey, this is probably gonna work, or if you're not very smart, you say, this is definitely gonna work. Don't ever say that. But you say, you know what, this is probably gonna work. I feel good about this. Here's why, X, Y, Z. Here's my evidence, whatever it is. And then 3 months down the line, there's a hiccup. And it's a hiccup that, maybe you didn't foresee. Maybe it worked last time, but didn't work this time, whatever it is. Well, if you mislead those people, if they say, hey, is everything okay? And you go, oh, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get that worked out for you. No worries. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. Nothing that is hidden or misled ever stays hidden forever, okay? It's going to come out. And I'll be honest with you, I've personally been in situations before where they clearly knew the news was bad before I said anything. But I came to them and I told them the truth right off the bat. I said, hey, you know what? This didn't work out. But listen, we do X, Y, Z, see how it goes, whatever. Everything was fine. They were like, yeah, I didn't think so either. Glad to know that you're honest. We're good. Let's keep going. And in the end, everything worked out fine. If you mislead someone, especially a customer, number one, there are some legal issues you could get into, which you really don't want to go down. But number two, it really takes away from your credibility. If they're not going to trust you, who is going to trust you? Live by it, remember it, and no matter what, be honest. So on to number 7. And this one is a good tool to use for you both to work together to figure out the best path forward for the company. So number 7, ask what they love, ask what they fear, use both to map out a path to success for them. Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is say, hey, Jimmy, what do you love doing? What do you actually enjoy doing with your company or in the company? And they may say, oh, you know what? I absolutely love all the drilling that we do. I love going out there. I love sending crews out there. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. Sometimes I go get on the drilling machine myself. Okay, great. So that is a love that they have. That's really something they're passionate about. And so the next thing you might ask them is, okay, that sounds great. What's something you fear about the company or something you fear about the future? And they may say something like, well, we get paid basically weekly. Our funding isn't secure. We're basically living paycheck to paycheck, and I worry about it all the time. Okay, so now that's perfect. You've now learned both what they love and what they fear. Now, what you do with that is you say, okay, your goal is to grow the company 20% over the next year. So you're going to take both of those things and you're going to help map out a path that accentuates the things that they love. Hey, I love all the crews that we have. I love that. And you're going to work towards a goal, kind of going around the things as best as possible with the things that they fear. Obviously, funding is an issue. So what you're not going to do is say, okay, well, you know what? Let's go buy 10 more machines. Hopefully you can pay for it every month and we'll see how things go. No, you're going to take a more conservative approach to your plan. You're going to say, okay, so funding is an issue. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of buying 10 brand new machines, we're going to start out by subcontracting some work. Say maybe we're going to go ahead and bid on a few jobs. We'll get some subcontractors lined up. This way you're bringing in more revenue, which is going to help build the company, but you're not going to have the financial expenses sitting there of, oh man, we've bought 10 new machines and I don't know how we're going to pay for it if this one client doesn't pay this week or we don't meet our deadlines for the month. So you're kind of mitigating the fears while accentuating what they love. The other good thing about that, if you are truly listening to them, which by the way, you should be, and we'll get to that. They're going to notice that. And it's one of those things that even though materially, there's nothing you can feel there, anything like that, the feeling that they get personally from that is that you are listening, and you are truly listening, not just, hey, there's the goal and you're going to do what I say because you're paying me to tell you how to do it. No, that's not the right way. You're listening to them. You're saying, oh, okay, so this is the thing that you love and this is the thing that you fear. It's your company. I'm just here to help you. So you know what? Let's figure out the path to get you where you want, get you the growth that you want, without having to worry about the financial concerns that you have. If we went out and say brought in 3 more crews, okay, so we get less overall per month, but we also don't have the concerns of, oh boy, now I can't make the payment, or oh, the insurance is going up to this. You work within the bounds of what their goals are and what their reality is, and they notice that. So keep that in mind. All right, on to the next one. Number 8. This is a good one. Have a goal, learn their goal, make sure your goals align, negotiate on the fringes if possible, and walk away if not. Now, what does that soup salad mean? We're going to get into it. So what that means is, before you even step into your meeting, have a goal. Now I'm not saying put it in stone and hold it up for the world, but have some form of goal. What is your end point that you are looking to get out of this? So what you want to do is make sure you have that goal in your head. And then when you go into that meeting and you start talking to them and you start collaborating with them and you find out exactly what their real goal is. Now, be careful with that, because someone may tell you, well, my goal is to make more money for the company. Okay, but then you actually need to drill down on that. Are they not making as much because maybe they're not doing the best at the bid process? Are they not bringing in as much revenue because maybe they hired some wrong people? There's a million different things. And so you really need to get to the heart of the issue, not just, I need more money. It's, okay, well, you know what? You're bringing in great revenue, but your expenditures are insane. We need to take a look at that. Or you know what? You've kind of pigeonholed yourself into this tiny little region here, and we need to expand that out some. Or maybe it's, hey, you know what? You brought too much internal to the company. We need to look at contracting some out. And by doing that, that will raise overall revenue. So when I say know their goal, I don't mean the superficial goal that most people are probably going to tell you right off the bat. You kind of got to need to dig down to figure out what the real goal is. So once you do that, do our goals align? Now here's why they may not. You may have it in your head, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this company and I'm going to turn it into an international engineering firm. Well, the owners of the company may say, well, my goal is just to be a regional construction company, the making X amount of dollars. They don't have any interest in being an engineering firm. And maybe you're sitting there going, well, I don't know anything about building construction companies. So if you see there, your goals don't align. You're missing each other's mark. And if that's the case, it's best to just either walk away, or if your goals kind of align, you sit here and say, you know what? I've looked over everything and it appears to me that, yeah, you're not an engineering firm, but it would be great for you to bring engineering in-house or contract out with an engineer company. And the client goes, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I want to hire an engineering firm that does the engineering side for us and we do construction. Okay, well then there's something to work with there. Those goals are aligning. You guys have a meeting of the minds. Now the fringes part. So the things on the fringes. And what do I mean by that? You may say, hey, to get this done, we need to lay off 10% of your workforce. They're sitting there, they're not doing anything. It's not very productive. We need to get rid of them. They're draining whatever a month. The owners may say, well, I don't want to get rid of them. That's Uncle Bob and Aunt Susie and Cousin Jimmy. And so I'm not getting rid of them. At that point, you need to decide, okay, is this a situation where, look, we can do what we want to do. We can make this thing grow. We can meet their expectations and their goals. And we don't really have to get rid of these. If they really want to carry that dead weight, that's fine. But I'm still able to do what I need to do to meet the goals that we have agreed upon and we have shared. Okay, fine. If that's the case, fine. Is what it is. And the other part of that is, okay, maybe 3 of them are my Aunt Susie, my Uncle Bob, and my Cousin Jimmy. But the other 3, that's fine. We can get rid of them. Okay, so you guys are meeting in the middle. And again, as long as it all works out for the long-term goal, that's fine. But if you're looking at the situation and you say, well, no, this is the problem. You're bringing in tons of money. Everything looks good. All that works good. You have a workforce problem. Basically, you are carrying half the town on your back, and there's no way to make that viable. If they're not willing to accept that, then again, it's just not a good fit. Your goals aren't aligning. The things on the fringes aren't aligning. You can't agree to. Time to walk away. All right, so on to number 9. Be willing to say, I don't know, but be driven enough to learn the answer. That's pretty self-explanatory. But you would be amazed at the people who are truly afraid of saying, I don't know. I learned something a long time ago in the military. It is absolutely okay to say, I don't know, but you are also expected immediately afterwards to learn whatever it is you don't know. No one knows everything. If anyone ever tells you they know everything, or if they seem to have all the answers in the world, you're probably dealing with a liar. Nobody does. And the most honest people, the people that really say, hey, you know what? I don't know, but let me figure that out and let me get back to you on that. And that's the kind of people that your customers and your clients and your partners are going to want. They want the person who is going to be honest. The moment you start getting frazzled and worried, oh, these people are going to think this or this. If I don't know, I better make something up. No. Don't make it up. Just honestly say, I don't know, and then go figure it out. That's absolutely okay. And 9 times out of 10, if they're asking you, they don't know either. So it's not some big thing you're expected to know, especially if it is some off-the-wall thing. So let's take me, for example. Let's say a client came to me, and they were a client I was already working with. And they said, hey, Mark, we want to upgrade our system. We've heard it's a better billing system. What do you think? I'm not the billing expert here at Marcari. I would honestly have to say, I don't know, but let me get on the phone to Erin and let me talk to her about that. I'm not just going to spout off something. I'm not the subject matter expert in it. Even if I thought I knew something about it, I would be doing them a disservice and I would be lying. By the way, a lie of commission or a lie of omission, they're both lies. So the appropriate thing to do there is to just say, I don't know, I'll find out, and I'll get back to you. And that's easy. Nobody's going to freak out on you over that. Nobody's going to say, oh, I can't believe you. Get out. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It's nothing you have to worry about. Just stay calm and everything's fine. All right, so on to number 10. Now, the next 2 are short, but good. So number 10, do the hard thing because most people won't. Now, what do I mean by that? I have personally been in a situation where I came into this and it was an insane amount of paperwork. These people hadn't done paperwork and I could not tell you when. I had to sit there, me personally, for probably a week or 2, just to really dig down, really try to understand what was going on with their company. I can tell you it certainly was not a fun thing to do. Now that said, they had actually previously hired a consultant to expand their company and grow their company. Problem was, these people never actually looked at all this paperwork. They didn't know what was really going on. They didn't know where a lot of the money was going. It turned into a whole situation. But I can tell you, the fact that I sat there for a couple weeks and really dug down, it was horrible. But I understood. I understood what was going on, and we were able to fix the problem. It's doing those hard things that's going to make you stand out from everybody else. Doing the things that people need. You gotta remember, most people don't mind doing easy things. Most companies don't mind doing easy things. But the moment a real challenge is presented, most people don't want to do it. They want somebody else to have to deal with it. It's just not in their bandwidth. So make it in your bandwidth. And that will be a real value to your customer, your client, or your partner. So always keep that in mind. Now, on to the final one.
Bonus.
My personal favorite, number 11. Actually listen, don't just be silent. Now, this probably doesn't need any explanation, but I'm going to explain it because I'm telling you, I have met a lot of people like this. If you are having a conversation with somebody, do not just stare blankly at them and wait for your turn to speak. Remember, you are trying to get all the information you can to help these people, to reach a goal with them, to partner with them. You cannot do that if all you're doing is waiting for your time to speak. And this is something I cannot stress how important this is. If you go into these situations, and so let's say it's your meeting, and you've got the perfect pitch all figured out in your head, right? Oh, I've got my pitch. You may go knock the pitch out of the park. But remember, you're not trying to sell anything. You don't need to pitch anything. What you should be doing is listening, because if you listen, if you truly listen, everyone's going to tell you what they actually need. Yes, you may need to ask more specific questions because they may give an answer like, well, my goal is more money. Okay, so you need to ask more questions, and they need to be pertinent questions. And you're only going to have pertinent questions if you listened, not just stayed silent. So everything else that I have said here, listen to that. Do not just stay silent waiting for your time to speak. Listen. All right, guys, I hope that helped. I hope it was informative, and I hope you don't mind that it went kind of long. But I do think that these 10 things will really help you, especially at your next meeting or meeting your next client. But not only that, but also at providing more value to your customer, client, or partner. If you have any questions, just leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know it, I'll probably Google it first, and then I'll come back and answer it. So I don't know if I'm gonna write I don't know. But if I still don't figure it out with Google, I'll write I don't know. All right, guys, you take care. Bye.